Here's a quick little tip about photography. Get up early. Seriously, just get up early. The light's amazing, it's quiet. You can find all sorts of things. Get up early, have a tripod, explore.
The goal today was fairly simple. We'd explore an unknown route given to us by a random bicyclist toward a hot spring we didn't know existed. Then hopefully proceed to Leslie Gulch, our original destination for the day.
We were taking a look at the topos at Satellite, and some of the dirt roads that we're looking at for today, we were seeing grass in the middle. And what I looked at was 200 miles. And if it's 200 miles of double track, we're really screwed, because that's a lot of miles to try and do in a day. But we're not going to miss the opportunity for the greatest hot spring in the world. It's going to be kind of an epic day. I just don't know how yet.
The cool air had us all looking forward to the warm water at the hot spring. The 35-mile route was immediately looking promising. The locals told us most people only go there in 4x4s. Even better. We started to encounter some puddles, but we didn't think anything of them, or why they would exist. But then they started getting larger, and the areas in front and behind became increasingly muddy and treacherous. At one point, Scott lost control of the Myth R100 GS and ended up riding off the road, an unusual move considering his riding skill level. Naturally, we pressed on. Somehow it didn't occur to us that the massive rain the night before on the Alvord Playa might have also fallen in other areas, like here. Minutes later, Gregor was struggling to keep the Ducati Multistrada upright on a rather unremarkably flat section of road. His front fender had packed solid with mud and the wheel was no longer spinning.
Oh, yes.
The kiss of death for a big adventure bike.
Make us proud, Matt.
Unfortunately, my BMW 1250 GS had the same issues, making both bikes nearly impossible to ride in these conditions. The surface was like glass, covered in grease. An hour of lifting and pushing the 700-pound bikes through a football field of mud had us considering skipping the warm spring. But Gregor still wanted, so badly, to see this magical place.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we should probably turn around at this point.
Sissy.
Scott and I both began to fear Gregor may be growing delusional from hot spring fever.
Oh, it worked like a champ. Look at that shit.
Okay. He's gonna get stuck again. For a second there, I was like, shit, he was right. Now I just feel bad for him.
Surely this was the worst of it. We continued this thinking through one muddy section after another, bikes falling over and getting stuck, followed by a short section of dry road.
A lot of times on the trail, when it's rocky, I like to do what we call a skid plate inspection. So we just take the bike and we position it sort of like this. Real friends would put the camera down and help.
Eventually, we started riding around the mud in the sagebrush next to the road. This presented a different set of problems. This lunacy went on for 6 hours, during which we covered 6 miles. 1 mile per hour is half the speed of your average turtle.
This is not one of the smarter things we've done.
We had broken a cardinal rule of the outdoors by telling no one where we were. A desolate road that might not see a person for a month. To continue towards the spring was to risk repeating the same choices we'd made and possibly breaking a bike, or worse, a bone. It was finally clear there was no winning this war, so we chose to retreat. We took an alternate route back in hopes of finding better conditions, but it turned out to be even worse, adding large boulders into the mix.
Easy, easy.
After 12 hours of pointless struggle, we finally made it back to the place we started.
Made it.
It was just fucking brutal.
It was a dick breaker.
It is the hardest riding I've ever done in my life today. It was is beyond.
Today was certainly a bust in terms of making mileage and reaching destinations, but it was a good reminder that seemingly innocuous situations can be treacherous and that giving up on a goal can sometimes be the smartest solution. A second night in Rome seemed like pouring salt in a wound, so we decided to ride the 30 miles to Jordan Valley, if only to get a different dinner, a different motel room, and hopefully start the next day differently than this one.
Sometimes the magic works and sometimes it doesn't. Today doesn't. We probably dropped bikes, 50 times? And our bikes probably have 100 pounds of mud on them each. And we are spent. We're gonna hit a shower, grab a pizza, and we're probably all gonna be asleep by 8 o'clock before the sun even sets.
The bushwhacking sucked. Dropping the bike and picking it back up sucked, although less so with this because it weighs 200, 300 pounds less than the other bikes. If we had all been on bikes like this all day,
And we would have been there.
yeah, we would have gotten there. We
Yeah,
would
what
have
did you
pressed
think?
on. Survived.
We survived the most unnecessary trip of all.
Is it funny yet?
The following morning was our last day of the trip. Our muscles sore from our day of deadlifting motorcycles, we made some last-minute repairs before heading out.
I think we got it. The route today is, there are a lot more knowns than unknowns. So I'm excited to wrap it up with not an easy day, but a predictable day.
Our plan is to spend the morning exploring Leslie Gulch, and then head 400 miles north to Mount Hood to try to catch the sunset on our way home. We had hoped to have more time to explore the area, but our epic day before sapped our schedule of its flexibility. Leslie Gulch was not only spectacular, but also the location of our final gear casualty. Somehow Gregor managed to ride past Scott and I 3 times, and we never noticed the camera that was resting on his pannier.
And now we have one camera. The backup point and shoot is still solid.
We decided this may be a good time to move on to our next location. I mentioned a road near Mount Hood that seemed like it might be the perfect way to add mountains to our geographic tour. At almost 400 miles away, we need to put our heads down to get there before dark. As the rain began to fall, we pulled out our cameras to document our final geographic achievement. We had ridden all the landscape Oregon had to offer and shot thousands of photos and hours of video. Although this wasn't the adventure we planned, it was absolutely the adventure we needed.